The realms of gods, Devaloka. The 6 heavens of realms of desire, Kamadhatu. 1. Ananda. There are men who do not seek the permanent because they cannot relinquish their love for their wives. They, however, do not commit adultery, and so their minds are clear and bright. After their death, they will be reborn in the regions near the sun and the moon, called the 4 heavens of the 4 Deva kings, Chatura Maharaja Kayika. 2. There are men who, though living with their wives, are lukewarm about love and sexual desire. Their chastity is therefore not perfect, and so, after their death, they will be reborn in the regions above the sun and the moon, and on the top of the world, called the Trayastrisma heavens. 3. Those whose sexual indulgence is only incidental, and is then always forgotten, and who prefer tranquility to disturbance, will, after their death, be reborn in space, where they will dwell in brightness which eclipse the light of the sun and moon because of their luminous bodies. This is the Suyama heaven. 4. Those who live in tranquility at all times, but are still not yet immune to disturbance, will, after their death, be reborn in the subtle region which is beyond the reach of men and lower devas, and which remains unaffected by the 3 calamities of fire, water, and wind during the kalpa of world destruction. This is the Tushita heaven. 5. Those who have relinquished all sexual desires but are prepared to satisfy those of their wives, and who feel as if they chew tasteless wax during the intercourse, will, after their death, be reborn in the region attainable by leaps and bounds, direct from the realms of human beings. This is the Nimanarati heaven. Nirmanarati heaven. Nirmanarati heaven. 6. Those who have cut off their worldly minds and are thus free from earthly prejudices when dealing with worldlings will, after their death, be reborn in the region beyond those, where joys is attainable and unattainable at will. This is the Paranirmita Vasavartina heaven. Ananda, though these 6 realms of heavens are free from mental disturbances, they still retain the conception of mind. Hence, they are called realms of desires. The 4 regions of the Dhyana heavens of the realm of form. Rupadhatu. The first region of the 3 Dhyana heavens. 1. Ananda. All worldly men who do not practice dhyana in their cultivation of the mind cannot achieve wisdom. If they only abstain from sexual desires, of which they do not even think in their daily activities, they will not be contaminated by love and will leave the realm of desires. They will be reborn as they wish, as people Brahma Parisadhya in the heaven called Brahma Kayika. 2. Those who relinquish their habits of desire and so realize minds free of lust are able to keep the rules of morality and discipline and to live purely whatever they do. They will be reborn as ministers of Brahma in the heaven called Brahma Purohitas. 3. Those whose bodies and minds are profound and perfect, whose deportment and pure living are irreproachable, and who thereby achieve clear understanding, are qualified to rule over the Brahmadevas as their lords. Mahabrahma Devaraja. This is the Mahabrahma heaven. Ananda. These 3 heavens are free from all worldly troubles which cannot reach them. Although these gods do not practice the right samadhi, their minds are still and free from all disturbances. This is the first region of the Dhyana heavens. The second region of the 3 Dhyana heavens. 1. Ananda. Next comes the heaven of Brahma, who reigns over his people and perfects the rules of pure living, and whose unperturbed mind is still and shining. This is the heaven of minor light, Paritaba. 2. The above light grows brighter and illumines all the worlds in the 10 directions, thereby changing everything into the clear crystal. This is the heaven of infinite light, Apramanabha. 3. The preservation of this infinite light now becomes the theme of the teaching voice that preaches purity and cleanliness to all who can respond. This is the Avasambhara heaven. Ananda, these 3 heavens are beyond all worldly troubles, and although their devas do not practice the right samadhi, their pure and clean minds are free from all the coarse characteristics of samsara. This is the second region of the Dhyana heavens. The third region of the 3 Dhyana heavens are 1. Ananda. Thus these devas transmute this perfect light into the theme of the voice, which reveals the wonderful state, and thereby give rise to the pure conduct that unites with dhyana by wiping out all former feelings of joy. This is the heaven of minor purity, Parita Subha. 2. Pure voidness now manifests in its boundless immensity, causing both body and mind to experience comfortable weightlessness and nirvanic bliss. This is the heaven of infinity purity, Apramanasubha. 3. Body and mind and universe are now in the state of perfect purity, which reveals clearly a supramundane abode full of nirvanic bliss. This is the heaven of universal purity, Subha Krishna. Subha Krishna. Ananda, these 3 heavens accord with the state of perfect dhyana, in which body and mind are at rest and enjoy boundless bliss. Although their devas have not achieved the right samadhi, their still minds are full of happiness. This is the third region of the Dhyana heavens. The fourth region of the four dhyana heavens are 1. Further, Ananda, these devas whose bodies and minds are beyond all sufferings, the causes of which have been completely wiped out, realize that bliss is not permanent and will in time inevitably come to an end. They, therefore, relinquish completely the dual concept of suffering and happiness, and as they wipe out the coarse characteristics of both conditions, the state of felicity manifests in all its purity. This is the heaven of felicitous birth, punya prasada. 2. The elimination of the above duality results in their complete liberation from this hindrance and enables them to enjoy the full measure of felicity as long as they stay in this heaven. This is the heaven of felicitous delight or cloudless velocity, anabhraka. 3. Ananda, the above heaven now divides into 2 parts, one of which is attainable by those who, in the light of boundless purity, achieve the perfection of felicity as their abode. This is the heaven of abundant fruit, prikphala, grihatphala. 4. On the other hand, if they wipe out both suffering and happiness, thereby developing a renouncing mind, which in time ensures their complete renunciation, both their bodies and minds will be eliminated, and with them all mental troubles. But because their practice is based on the samsaric idea of birth and death as a point of departure, they will not for 500 eons realize their permanent nature. The reason is that in every kalpa, they can only succeed during its first half in wiping out all their thoughts, which, however, will reoccur during its second half because of the wrong starting point. This is the heaven of thoughtless devas, asannivasatva. Ananda, these 4 heaven ache beyond all worldly suffering and happiness which can no more stir them. But they have not yet reached the true state of transcendental wu-wei immutability because they still preserve the notion of achievement. For this efficient achievement, they are called the 4th region of the dhyana and heavens, the 5 heavens from which there is no return. Further, Ananda, above the 4th region of the dhyana heavens, there are 5 heavens from which there is no return, whose devas have completely cut off all habits contracted through the 9 types of delusion of each of the lower heavens. They are thus beyond suffering and happiness, and dwell no more in these inferior heavens. Hence, their present abode set up by their achievement of the renunciation. They are 1. Ananda, with the complete elimination of both suffering and happiness, the struggling mind ceases to arise in this heaven, which is free from trouble and is called avarya. 2. There remains now the solitary renouncing mind that no longer confronts objects in this heaven, which is free from the heat of minor trouble and is called atapa. 3. All the worlds in the 10 directions are now clearly perceived as perfectly still without even a speck of impurity in this heaven of excellent perception called Sudarshana. 4. The essence of seeing now manifests and dissolves all subtle hindrances in this heaven of excellent manifestations called Sudarsa. 5. The utmost subtlety of form leads to its extreme limit, where starts boundless space in this ultimate heaven of finest form called Akanishta. Ananda, these 5 heavens from which there is no return are imperceptible to the Deva kings of the 4 dhyana heavens, who only hear of their existence but cannot see them. They are like those holy sites, Bodhimandalas, situated deep in the mountains, which are the abodes of arahats and which no worldling can see. Ananda, the above are the 18 heavens of form, whose devas are solitaries beyond all desires, but are still hindered by their forms. These heavens are, therefore, in the realm of form. The 4 heavens of the formless realms of pure spirit, Arupadhatu, the state of the great Arhat. Further, Ananda, the region above the top of the realm of form is divided into 2 parts. If the renouncing minds of these devas create transcendental wisdom, the light of which is perfectly penetrating, they will leap over samsara to become arahats, later to enter the bodhisattva state. They are called the great arahats, whose minds are turned towards Mahayana. The 4 heavens beyond form are 1. On the other hand, if after acquiring a renouncing mind, they relinquish this achievement and feel that their bodies are no longer obstructed, they will remove all obstacles to enter the void. This is the heaven of boundless emptiness. Akasanantyayantana. Akasanantyayatana. 2. If after wiping out all obstruction they keep away from boundless voidness, they will retain only the subtle half of Klishta, Mano, Vijnana in the Alaya. This is the heaven of boundless consciousness. Vijnana Nantyayatana. 3. With the elimination of both form and voidness and the additional eradication of consciousness, all the 10 directions will be completely still, merging into nothingness. This heaven is called Akinsanyayatana. 4. Consciousness now becomes immovable awareness, thus ending all further exhaustive search. As a result, the inexhaustible reveals the exhaustible, which seems to, yet does not stay, and which seems to, yet does not end. This is the heaven of devas, who are neither thoughtful nor thoughtless. Naivasam jananasa samjanyayatana, the anagamin stage. Though the devas of the 4 heavens beyond form succeed in looking exhaustively into the void, they fail to realize the absolute voidness of immaterial noumenon. They are all come from the 5 heavens of form from which there is no return, and if they do not stray from the holy way, they are called anagamins of arahatship, whose dull minds are not turned towards Mahayana. However, if they follow thoughtless devas of the heterodox way and stay in this inexhaustible voidness, they will delight in samsaric heavens and will be deprived of the chance of hearing the dharma. They will finally be turned back to the will of births and deaths. Ananda, all the devas in these heavens were once worldly men whose reward caused their rebirth there, and after enjoying its fruit, they will have to return to samsara. However, their rulers, Devaraja, are bodhisattvas who, in their practice of samadhi, appear in their heavens, which they use as paths for their progressive advance towards Buddhahood. Ananda, the devas in these four heavens beyond form have wiped out all traces of body and mind. As their still dhyana nature has appeared, they are free from all retribution involving material forms. Hence, this is the region beyond form. All this comes from their being not clear about the profound mind of Bodhi. And because of their preservation of accumulated thoughts, they create the three illusory realms of existence through the seven states. Hence, they are living beings, Pudgala, in the worlds they have deserved. The four classes in the realms of Titans, Asura Gati. Father Ananda, there are four classes of Asuras in the three realms of existence. 1. If a hungry ghost, while in his realm, strives to protect the Dharma and thereby uses his powerful understanding to enter the void, he will be reborn from an egg as an Asura who is connected with the realm of hungry ghosts. 2. If a Deva, because of his diminishing merits, is about to fall into the region near the sun and the moon, he will be reborn from a womb as an Asura who is connected with the realm of human beings. 3. A king of the Asuras who rules over the ghosts and spirits in the world is powerful and fearless and can fight for power against Brahma and his people, Sakra and the four kings of the four lower heavens. This Asura is born by transformation and is connected with the realms of heavens. 4. Ananda, there is another inferior class of Asuras who are born in the sea on the bed of which they live in holes. They roam in space during the day and return to the sea at night. These Asuras are born from humidity and are connected with the realms of animals and birds. Ananda, the above seven realms of hell, hungry ghosts, animals, birds, men, seers, heavens, and the Titans come from their own illusions of worldly forms. They are created by their wrong thinking and are like flowers in the sky within their profound, perfect, bright, and non-creating fundamental minds. Essentially, they are not in bondage to anything and are the product of falsehood, which has neither root nor clue. Ananda, these living beings are unaware of their fundamental minds and so suffer from this round of births and deaths in samsara. If they have passed countless eons without realizing the true and pure mind, it is because they have killed, stolen, and been carnal, the seizing of which has caused them to be reborn where these acts are unknown. Where these acts exist is called the realm of hungry ghosts, and where they do not is called the realms of devas. The presence of absence of these three evils alternate and cause the will of samsara to turn. If they achieve samadhi, they will realize the profound, eternal, and still state which is free from duality of existence and non-existence, and is also beyond this very freedom from duality. In such a state, where even non-killing, non-stealing, and non-carnalizing cannot be found, how can there be such evils as killing, stealing, and carnality? Ananda, if an individual does not abstain from these three deeds, he will suffer from evil consequences. If a group of individuals commit them, they will all endure the same suffering in the same place, which cannot be said to be non-existent. However, this place arises from the falsehood, which has no cause and cannot be sought anywhere. As you strive to realize Bodhi, you should wipe out these three evils. If you do not, whatever supernatural power you may acquire from your practice still pertains to worldly achievement. If your vicious habits are not cut off, you will fall into the realm of demons. And even if you then want to wipe out falsehood, you will only increase it. Therefore, the Tathagata says that you are most pitiable because your sufferings are self-inflicted and do not come from any defect of Bodhi. The above preaching is right, and any other is that the demon Mara. Warning to practitioners. The 50 false states caused by the 5 aggregates. States of Mara caused by the 5 aggregates. As the gathering drew to a close, the Buddha grasped the teapoy and made a move to rise from his lion seat, when suddenly he changed his mind, learned back and said to Ananda in assembly, "You Sravakas and Pratyaka Buddhas need to study more in your quest of Supreme Bodhi. I have taught you the method of correct cultivation, but you still do not know the subtle states of Mara, which appear when you practice Samatha Vipassana. When they manifest, if you fail to distinguish them, and if your minds are not in a right state, you will fall into the evil ways of either the demons or your 5 aggregates of heavenly maras, of ghosts and spirits, or of mischievous sprites. If you are not clear about them, you will mistake thieves for your own sons. Further, you may regard some little progress as complete achievement, like the untutored bhikshu, who, when he reached the 4th dhyana, heaven presumed that he had become a saint after he had enjoyed his reward in heaven. All indications of his approaching fall appeared. As he vilified the arahats, he created the karma of future incarnation and then fell into the abyssy hell. You should listen carefully to what I now tell you in detail. Ananda rose from his seat and, with all those requiring further study, prostrated himself at Buddha's feet and awaited his compassionate instruction. The Buddha said, "You should all know that the clear substance of the profound and right basic Bodhi of all living beings of the 12 types of birth in samsara is that of all Buddhas in the 10 directions. It is because you think wrongly that you are not clear about the noumenon and so become stupid and full of desires, which lead to your complete delusion, hence the relative voidness, and as you are always deluded, the world is falsely created. All countries, countless as dust, are in samsara because of your obstinate wrong thinking. But you should know that relative voidness is created in your minds, like a small cloud that is but a speck in the great emptiness. How much more so is the world which is within this relative voidness? If you realize the real to return to the source, the void in the 10 directions will vanish. Why then will not all the countries in that voidness shake and crack? When you practice dhyana to preserve the state of samadhi, all bodhisattvas and all great arahats whose essence of mind is already penetrated are unmoved. But the kings of the demons, ghosts, spirits, and lower heavens are shocked to see their palaces break open without cause, and the great earth shake and crack. All those on earth and in the air take fright, whereas worldly men who are deluded do not feel anything, because these demons, though they have acquired 5 supernatural powers, still fail to realize transcendental insight into the ending of the stream of transmigration, for they have not broken their links with samsara. How can they let you destroy their dwellings? This is why they come to trouble and annoy you when you enter the state of samadhi. However, in spite of their rage, these demons are there in your profound state of bodhi and are like people trying in vain to blow out sunlight and to cut water with a sword, while you are like boiling water that melts solid ice. Though they rely on their supernatural powers, they are but externals and will only succeed in destroying you if you, who own the 5 aggregates in your minds, are deluded and let them do so. For these demons cannot harm you in your state of dhyana. If you are awakened and are not deluded, if you wipe out the 5 aggregates, you will enter the state of brightness, wherein all demons are dark vapors. Since light destroys darkness, they will perish as soon as they approach you. How then dare they disturb the state of samadhi? On the other hand, if you fail to awaken and are thereby deluded by the 5 aggregates, then, Ananda, you will become the son of Mara and help the demons. As the illustration, Matangi, who was so base, used magic to cause you to break one of the 80,000 minor rules of pure living, but since your mind was pure, you were not ruined. This shows the imminent loss of all your previous bodhi. You are almost like a chancellor of state whose possessions are suddenly confiscated, so that he is in straitened circumstances without any hope of obtaining aid. The 10 states affected by the first aggregated form, rupa. Ananda, when you sit in meditation, if your thoughts are wiped out, the state of your mind, now free from them, will be clear and will not be changed by either stillness or disturbance. In the state, both remembrance and forgetfulness are one undivided whole. While in it, and before realizing samadhi, you are like a man whose eyes are clear, but who is still in the dark. For though your mind is clear, it does not yet shine. This is the aggregation of form that conditions your meditation. If your mind radiates, you will clearly perceive all the 10 directions of space. This disappearance of darkness is called the ending of rupa, and you will then leap over beyond the forbid kalpa, the main cause of which is your wrong thinking. When, Ananda, in this profound and clear state of your penetrating mind, the 4 elements cease to hinder you, and after a little your body will be free from all hindrances. This is your clear mind, spreading to its objects, and shows the effectiveness of your meditation, the temporary achievement of which does not mean that you are a saint. If you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will succeed to demons. 2. Ananda, in this profound and clear state of your penetrating mind, you will be able to discern everything clearly in your body and will suddenly see lively tapeworms. This is your clear mind spreading in your body and shows its effective functioning, the temporary achievement of which does not mean that you are a saint. If you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will succeed or succumb to demons. 3. Further, in the state of mind, which penetrates both within and without, your spirit and faculty, though not your body, will intermingle as principals, hosts, and accessories, guests, and suddenly you will hear a voice in the ear preaching the Dharma or proclaiming its secret meaning in the 10 directions. This is your spirit and faculties which unite with or disengage from one another to sow the excellent seed, the temporary realization of which does not mean that you are a saint. If you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will succeed to demons. 4. Further, in this clear, revealing, bright, and penetrating state of mind, your inner light radiates and glides everything in the 10 directions wherein all living beings are transformed into Buddhas. Suddenly you will see Vairochana seated in the radiant throne surrounded by thousands of Buddhas with hundreds of lakhs of countries of lotus flowers, all of which appear at once. This is the effect of being awakened by your mind's spirituality, the light of which penetrates and shines on all of the worlds. This temporary achievement does not mean you are a saint. If you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will succumb to demons. 5. Further, if your penetrating mind in its profound and clear state continues to look within without pause, and so checks and stops completely all thinking, you will suddenly see space in the 10 directions change into colors of the 7 or of 100 precious gems, which fill the whole space without hindering one another. All colors, such as blue, yellow, red, white, appear in utterly purity. This is hard-pressed efficiency, the temporary achievement of which does not mean you are a saint. If you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will give way to the demons. 6. In this clear and penetrating state of your mind, when it looks within, its light appears in all its purity, and at midnight you will suddenly see in your dark room all sorts of apparitions, as clearly as in broad daylight, with all the other objects usually there. This is the mind, in its subtlety, refining its clear perception, which enables you to see distinctly in the dark. This temporary achievement does not mean you are a saint. If you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will give way to demons. 7. As the mind merges with the void, suddenly your four limbs will be like grass and plants and will feel nothing even if burned by fire or cut by knife. This immunity from injury results from the amalgamation of mind and externals and with the elimination of the four elements as it merges with the void. This temporary achievement does not mean you are a saint, and if you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will give way to demons. 8. As your mind becomes pure and clean, its uttermost purification causes you to see suddenly the great earth, mountains, and rivers in the 10 directions change into the Buddha's pure land, adorned with all sorts of precious gems, whose radiance is all-pervading. You will again see clearly Buddhas as countless as the Ganga's sands, with beautiful temple buildings filling the whole of space, with the hells underneath and Deva palaces above. This is the transformation of usually deep-rooted thoughts of likes and dislikes, but does not mean you are a saint. If you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will give way to demons. 9. As your mind penetrates deeper, you will suddenly see at midnight far away marketplaces, streets, and lanes, as well as members of your family, your relatives, and clansmen, or hear them speak. This results from the hard-pressed mind, which expands so that you see things no matter how far away. This does not mean you are a saint, and if you do not regard it as such, it is an excellent progressive stage, but if you do, you will give way to demons. 10. As a result of your mind's furthest penetration, you will see men of good counsel whose body change without reason in all kinds of ways. This is your perverse mind, which is influenced by mischievous ghosts and heavenly demons, and which without reason preaches the Dharma and comprehends its profound meaning. This does not mean you are a saint, and if you do not regard it as such, Mara's influence will vanish, but if you do, you will give way to demons. Ananda, these 10 states of dhyana come from the intermingling of the aggregate of form with the meditative mind. Deluded and wayward practitioners do not know their own capabilities, cannot distinguish these states when they manifest, and wrongly declare that they are saints. By so doing, they break the prohibition against lying and so-called fall into uninterrupted hell. Uninterrupted hell. After my nirvana, in the Dharma ending age, you will proclaim this teaching so that the heavenly demons cannot take advantage of such states, and the practitioners can be on their guard and realize the supreme Tao. The 10 states affected by the second aggregate of receptiveness, Vedana. Ananda, in the practice of samatha, to realize samadhi, when the first aggregate of form ceases to hinder, one will see the minds of all Buddhas like reflections in the bright mirror of the mind. One will feel as if one wins something, but cannot yet make use of it. It is like a sleeper troubled with a nightmare who cannot move to repulse it, although his four limbs are not bound and his consciousness is clear. This is the second aggregate of receptiveness, which conditions one's meditation. If the nightmare vanishes, one's mind can leave one's body to look at one's face and will be free to stay or go without further hindrance. This is the second aggregate of Vedana coming to an end, and the practitioner will then be able to leap over and beyond the kalpa of turbid views, the main cause of which is the seeming perspicacity of his wrong thinking. Anand, when the practitioner reaches this stage, you will find himself in great mass of brightness. His mind will discern the sorry plight of living beings, and on being pressed harder, it will give rise to infinite sadness. He will even regard gadflies and mosquitoes as his own children, on whom he takes pity, bursting unconsciously into tears. This results from his hard-pressed contemplation and is harmless if he knows its cause. It is not the saintly state that, if he understands it, it will be in time disappear. However, if he regards it as sainthood, he will succumb to the demon of sadness, will control his mind, and cause him to be miserable and be lament when meeting others. He will lose the benefit from the dhyana so far achieved, and will fall into the lower states. 2. Ananda, in the state of dhyana, as the aggregate of the form vanishes and receptiveness manifests, he makes more progress and may benefit of overstrained develop infinite boldness that sharpens his resolve and makes it equal to that of all Buddhas, so that he can leap over the 3 great eons in a moment of thought. This comes from overstrained concentration, which will be harmless if he knows it for what it is. It is not sainthood, and if it's well understood. It will in time vanish, but if he regards it as saintly, the demon of wilderness will control his mind and will cause him to boast of his achievement when he meets others. He will become proud and self-important, which will be blind to him and will blind him to the Buddha high above and to lower beings here below. He will thus lose the benefit from the dhyana so far achieved and will fall into the lower states. 3. In the state of dhyana, as form vanishes and receptiveness manifests. As the form vanishes and receptiveness manifests, if the practitioner makes no headway but loses sight of his previous state, when looking back, the power of his mind weakens. As it sees nothing ahead, it suddenly gives way to dryness, which causes him to indulge in endless deep reflection, which he may mistake for progressive advance. This is the absent-mindedness which lacks down wisdom and is harmless if he knows it for what it is. This is not sainthood, but if he regards it as such, he will succumb to the demon of unforgetfulness, will control his mind, and continue it to be fixed place, causing him to lose the benefit from the dhyana so far achieved and to fall into the lower states. 4. In this state, the still state, as form vanishes and receptiveness manifests, the practitioner wisdom may grow out of proportion and much in excess of his dhyana, and he may wrongly think that he has achieved the highest attainment and has reached the rank of Vaidasana. So he is satisfied with little progress which he regards as complete. This is his mind losing its usual insight and being misled by his discriminatory knowing and seeing. If he understands this, it will be harmless, but if he regards it as sainthood, he will succumb to the inferior self-satisfied demon will control his mind, causing him to boast that he has realized supreme nirvana. He will thus lose all benefits from the dhyana so far achieved and will fall into the lower states. 5. In this state of dhyana, as form vanishes and receptiveness manifests, before new headway is made, and after his previous experience has passed, he may find himself in a situation which seems very dreadful and full of danger, and causes him endless anxiety and perplexity. He seems to sit on a hot iron bed or to drink poisonous medicines. As a result, he tires of life and seeks to end it to get rid of this torment. This practice without the necessary expedient method and is harmless if he knows the cause. It is not a saintly state, but if he regards it as such, he will succumb to the demon of anxiety, who will control his mind, causing him to cut his own flesh with a sharp knife so that he can die, or to flee to the mountains and groves in order to avoid other people. He will thus lose all benefits from the dhyana so far achieved and will fall into the lower states. 6. In the state of dhyana, as form vanishes and receptiveness manifests, the practitioner may, after feeling every comfortable in the condition of purity and cleanliness, suddenly experience infinite joy, which becomes so intense that he cannot check it. This is delight in weightlessness, which is uncontrollable for lack of wisdom and is harmless if he knows the cause. This is not a saintly state, but if he regards it as such, he will succumb to the demon of joy, who will control the mind so that he laughs without cause when seeing others, and sings and dances in the street, boasting of his realization of unhindered liberation. He will lose all benefit from the dhyana so far achieved and will fall into the lower states. In this state, 7. In the state of dhyana, as form vanishes and receptiveness manifests, the practitioner may think that he has achieved full realization. This illusion causes him suddenly, without any reason, to give rise to self-conceit, so that he regards himself though inferior as equal to others, though equal as superior to others, and to superiors as being a saint when he's not, and as not inferior to inferiors. All these feelings occur together. Even all the Buddhas are nothing to him, still more so the less advanced Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. This is an extraordinary state form from which he fails to extricate himself for lack of wisdom. It will be harmless if he knows that it is not a saintly state, but if he regards it as such, he will succumb to the demon of self-conceit, will control his mind, and cause him to stop revering the stupas and temples, and to destroy the sutras and statues of Buddhas. He will declare to his patrons, statues are but gold, bronze, clay, and wood, and sutras are but palm, pata, leaves, and clothes. Instead of revering the body of flesh and blood, which is really permanent, it is sheer nonsense to worship clay and wood. Those who believe him destroy the statues and sutras and throw them on the ground. They are misled by him, and so will enter the unintimated hell. Thus he will lose all benefit from the dhyana so far achieved and will fall into the lower states.